Welcome to today's estimating webinar. During today's webinar, we're going to cover the basics of how to use the estimating function within Square Takeoff. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them by entering them into the questions section located in the bottom right-hand corner of the webinar screen. One of our moderators will respond to your questions following today's webinar. Let's get started. On the left-hand side section of your Square Takeoff, you will notice there is a section called Estimating located below Bid Management. Within this section, there are 4 categories displayed: templates, template user groups, parts catalog, and global parts properties. Each one of these categories allows you to customize Square Takeoff to fit your desired estimating workflow. First, let's start with template user groups. Template user groups are designed to allow you to create different template groups. For example, maybe you would like to create different template user groups for each trade you estimate. Maybe you would like to group framing templates together as one group and maybe roofing templates as another. On the other hand, maybe you are a subcontractor and would like to group your templates by the builder, general contractor that you do work for, allowing you to have different template sets based on their specific needs. However you would prefer this to be used, the system will allow you to once again customize it as you see fit. To create a new user group, all you need to do is select Add New Group. Once selected, simply enter the name of the group and the user and/or users that will have access to this group. As you may have noticed, you can add multiple users to template user groups. This comes in handy when you have multiple licenses on your account and you would only need to share certain templates with certain users within your company or organization. When done, just select Save and you will then see the template user group appear. Next, let's look at global parts properties. Global part properties are designed to allow you to create a custom property and property groups for each different part type. For example, maybe you would like to add a custom property to your labor part type called cost per hour. By selecting the plus icon located to the left of labor, you can create that property. To do this, all you need to do is simply enter the name of the property, which for example, this is going to be cost per hour. You can then enter a description for the item. Next, select the type. When selecting the type, you will notice there is multiple items to select, and each of these items provide unique functions. Each type provides the option for a different output. For example, the list features allows you to add a list of items that during estimating can be selected as an input item. All you need to do is simply enter the list within the list sidebar menu. For today's demo, we are going to select text, which is the most common field that will be used. Next, we can select the property grouping structure. Within this dropdown, you will see the current property groups. If you would like to group this item in a new property group, you would select Add New to do this. For this example, we are going to select one of our current existing property groups. Next, we can enter in a formula or result. For this example, we would enter in the labor cost per hour. We will then select the input section from the sidebar. Here you can select whether you would like this to default as an input variable when completing your estimate. You will also enter the required unit of measure and the number of decimal points to be displayed. Once you have completed all of these tasks, click Save. This will now save your new global part property. Remember, because you have created this property, it will now appear in all your new parts that are created inside of your part catalog/templates. Next, we will review the part catalog. Once you click and open your parts catalog, you will notice you already have a default catalog loaded. This catalog is a sample catalog that is provided to you by Square Takeoff. However, if you would like to create your own parts catalog, you can do so. To do this, simply select Add New Catalog. Once selected, just enter the name of the catalog you would like to create. Once entered, select Save. You will now see the parts catalog appear. From here, you can add folders or parts as sub-items to the catalog. For today's training, I'm going to create a folder by selecting the plus icon to the left of our catalog and call it Roof Material. Remember, Square Takeoff is designed to allow you to estimate any construction trade, because if you can estimate it by hand, you can estimate it within the Square Takeoff software. Once I create this folder, I can then add folders under it, or if I would prefer, I can create parts. Let's create a part. When creating a part, you will first need to select the part type. For this example, I'm going to select material. Next, let's give this part a name. I'm going to call it 7/16 by 4 by 8. And in the description field, I'm going to enter it as roof sheeting. I will then select Save. Next, let's select the Properties field. This will take us into the advanced function of the part. From here, I will enter some additional information as needed, such as the part number and the CSI division this part will belong to. Next, you will see the Properties section below. Once you expand one of the properties, you will then see a list of the available properties for this part type. From here, you can start to customize this part. Within your default properties, you will see properties such as area value, linear value, and count value. These properties are used to calculate the final quantity result of the part. They use the quantity that is digitized during the takeoff process using one of the 3 digitizer tools. Next, you will see items that pertain to pricing such as cost each and price total, to name a few. These items will be calculated based off the output of the quantity property. Lastly, you will see the quantity property. This is where you will want to create a custom math formula. To set up the quantity property, simply select the Edit button. Once selected, the properties creator will appear. Just like in the earlier section when we created the global part property, you can modify this to meet the requirements of the part you are creating. Let's create a formula. To do this, select the X squared button located to the right of the formula bar. Once it's selected, the formula writer will appear. From here, you can create your formula. You will notice a list of properties that are located within this part. You will also notice a section that contains functions and operators. This section allows you to add these items to the formula as need be. First, let's think of how we would calculate this part by hand. When calculating roof sheeting, I myself normally calculate the total square foot of the roof area based on the required pitch. I then divide it by the coverage of my sheeting, which in this case is 32 square feet. I then add on a waste percentage or overage to the item, and at the end, round everything up to the nearest piece. Now, let's do that exact same formula in the software. First, we need to start with a base number. In this case, we need total square foot or area value. To add it, let's double-click it from the right-hand property menu. Next, let's divide it by 32. Now we need to add parentheses to this formula. You may be asking why we need parentheses. Well, think of it as this way. When we hand calculate our material and we enter it into our calculator, we would first enter the total square foot number divided by 32, then hit the equal button, and then we would continue with the next section of the calculation. This is how parentheses work. They group that section to calculate first before moving on to the next section. So essentially, they act kind of like the equal button on your calculator. Next, we want to multiply it by the waste percent. So let's select from the Functions and Operators section the Multiply button. We can then enter the following in for waste percent. The reason we use this formula for waste percent is that it allows you to enter the waste percent as 10, for example, versus 1.10, making it easier. Lastly, we want to round up the final total. You can select Round Up from the side menu or simply type it in at the front of the formula. I am going to type it in. At the end of the roundup, you will once again want to add parentheses, so the system knows to round up the output of the entire formula. Once it is created, you can now select Save. The last thing we need to do is make sure to set up the proper unit of measure for the output. In this case, I will use sheet. Once done, just select the Save button, then save on the main part. You have now created a part. Now let's use it to estimate some material. Click on the Template section. Within the Template section, you will be able to create templates that will allow you to estimate material. You will see some example templates that are available. From here, you can create a new template set by selecting Add New Template. You can then provide a name for the template along with some additional information below, such as assigning it to any custom user groups you may have created. Just like the parts catalog, you can create folders within the template. Next, I am going to add an assembly. From here, I will want to select the type of assembly I want to use to measure this item. For example, I need to select the area. I will then fill out the needed info below. When done, I will select Start. I can see the assembly within the folder. From here, I need to add the part or parts that I want to calculate using this assembly. To do this, I will select the plus icon and then Part. Inside of the part, I will first select the type. Since I created a material type, I will want to select Material. Next, I can enter in the name of the part. As you can see, this will allow you to filter through your part catalog until you find the correct part. However, if by chance you do not have a part in the part catalog, you can still build a custom part just as we did in the part catalog, just here in the template side of the system. However, since we have already created that part, we're going to select it. Once finished, select Save. And that's it. Once again, you can add multiple parts to this assembly. So for example, maybe we wanted to add things like felt paper, shingles, etc. You could do it just by repeating the previous steps. Now let's complete an estimate using this assembly. Let's go back into the job. From here, you will go to the page you need to estimate from. For us, we will be using the roof page. Next, we will select the template section and then locate the needed assembly. From here, you will select the small green play button to launch the assembly. From this point, you can adjust on the fly the items for this assembly. To continue, select Start. Next, you can adjust the properties that you set earlier by selecting the Input button in the Properties menu. For this example, we are going to change the waste percent from 10% to 12%. We can also enter any of the following fields such as location and phase. When done, select Save. You are now ready to digitize. Now that we are done digitizing, we can review our totals by selecting the Estimate button located in the upper ribbon bar. Once you are finished, you can export your estimate to a few different reports by simply selecting the one that best fits your needs. And that's it. Thank you again for taking the time to watch today's webinar. And if you have any questions, we can be reached at sales@squaretakeoff.com or via phone at 855-653-0782, option 1. Thank you.